Here we go. If you've been wanting to get off your psychotropic medication, today is the show for you. I'm not telling you to get off of them. I'm asking you to consider, if it's not working for you, maybe try something new. So fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn and grow together. Here we go. It's time to dance, Dr. Lee.
Hi.
Let's see you dance. Uh-oh. You looked out. Is that a no?
All right.
There you go. Yeah, getting out of our comfort zone early in the morning, right?
Yeah, let me go real quick.
Yeah, I love how I learned some moves too.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need
Here
a
we
friend.
go.
The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today's topic is we've done this topic before, just tapped into it a little bit. And I just want to let you know that all the shows is to help empower you. If what I'm telling you doesn't resonate with you, move on. Just consider it, move on. Or maybe it'll work for somebody else. Maybe it just won't for you. But just understand that the topics that I bring to the show are topics that resonate with me. And hopefully, because we're all one, it might resonate with you. Now, lately we've been seeing in the media, in schools, in shopping malls, walking on the street, so many things that are happening when it comes to mass shootings, mass murders. There's also an exorbitant amount of people on antidepressants. Perhaps maybe they're just sad and they need to process what's going on. If you are on antidepressants, if you are feeling depressed, I would like for you to consider maybe trying something new. But if you try something new, you must do this with the guidance of a doctor that will support your vision. So Dr. Alice Lee is a holistic and integrative psychiatrist practicing in Maryland. She combines nutritional medicine, which is an orthomolecular psychiatry, energy medicine, and other alternative therapies. This is how she treats mental health. So if you are considering either going on psychotropic medications, pharmaceuticals to ease your pain, there are so many different ways that you can heal. Now, Dr. Alice Lee, because she focuses on nutraceuticals and nutritional science to help people, she has some experience. If that is your goal, this is a doctor that can help you achieve that goal. Now, if you choose to continue to use your medications because they work for you, that's fine too. What I'm speaking to today are people who are willing to try or want to try something different because perhaps maybe it's not working for them. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Alice Lee is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Lee, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Thank you so much again for having me.
It is always a pleasure. When I first heard about you, I was so drawn because it's not very often that you see a psychiatrist who looks for alternative ways to help their patients. So share a little bit about your journey and how you reached that, because you're medically trained.
I think, to be authentic and real with you, I think that it started off because I was also put on Zoloft during my second year in residency, and they just left me on 25 milligrams of Zoloft, which at the time took away my desire at that time to quit psychiatry and go on and do another career in writing. So when they left me on the Zoloft, I had a very hard time getting off of it after about 5 years of just being left on it.
Wow.
And because of the withdrawals, it kind of taught me that being on these medications can be very rough once you try to get off of it. Nobody really taught me about withdrawals back then, even as a psychiatrist. Also, at the same time, I learned about a supplement that was very helpful for bipolar patients who were not getting better on their medications. Bipolar disorder is very hard to treat with traditional approaches. So with those two reasons, I think I was much more open to an alternative or natural approach to helping people, first of all, with medication withdrawal, and second, to help manage symptoms that are harder to control with medications. And that was enough to get me started on that path.
How quickly? I mean, were you a psychiatrist already when you were on Zoloft, or were you a student?
When I was started on Zoloft, I was a second year resident in adult psychiatry at the University of Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I had just had my daughter about a year ago. I had been, trying to breastfeed her and staying up late, and there was a lot of responsibilities that left me exhausted.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue this conversation with Dr. Alice Lee when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So, Dr. Lee, 5 years on Zoloft.
For literally no reason.
Were you depressed, continued to be depressed, or they just kept you on it without even thinking?
I was, after I started my 25 milligrams of Zoloft, it was fine. Everything, I had enough of the numbing effect of Zoloft that I wasn't really thinking about quitting psychiatry and getting into the English department at Hopkins.
Which is what you wanted.
Which was what I wanted, which hasn't really changed just because of the Zoloft. But I still do have a part of me that I've always loved writing in English. But I think what happened was that, when that issue was kind of numbed by the Zoloft, I was able to finish, my residency training and move on and complete my additional child fellowship training as well. So, yeah, I didn't have depression per se. I had an issue. And my issue was I was very unhappy with the way I was being trained as a psychiatrist. So,
yeah. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Perfect timing. There we go. This is our second segment. This will be a little longer, Dr. Lee. Okay. I do want to talk about the emotional aspect of depression.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where we always learn and grow with one another. Today's teacher is Dr. Alice Lee. I'm really excited to have this conversation because there are so many people that, as you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility. Please know I am not against pills, but I am for doing everything you possibly can to live a healthy life. Nothing can do what food can do, what positive thinking can do, what dealing with emotions can do. Nothing. A pill cannot do it. All a pill can do really is numb you up. Just like Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, that's I wanted to focus on this numbing. You use this word. When you speak and when my guests speak, I listen to certain words, and that one just resounded, which is numbing. You obviously had an issue. You had a desire to be a writer, and you've shared that before on the show. But there was a desire that was decided for you, which is to be a psychiatrist, correct? Or you thought you wanted.
In the middle of my training, and I think when at that time I was also in therapy, and when I talked about quitting and that I was unhappy, with with the training program really at that point, and just really exhausted from taking care of a daughter. It was about a year into after she was born, and really with being on call and staying up late, breastfeeding her, and all of the things that come with being a mother on top of everything else.
Sure.
I was just really exhausted, as I was saying, and so that was not taken into consideration. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping well. I was stressed from long hours of work, and basically the solution was just to take the Zoloft, and that would cure everything. But and in some ways it numbed it so that I could keep moving, but those issues were real issues. They weren't.
Correct. So here's the thing. What you're describing, a new mother, being a resident, breastfeeding, being in your, what year were you in? Your second or third year of residency?
I think I just finished my second year.
Okay. So all of that, how you were feeling is normal, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you were to come, if younger you were to come to you today as a client,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give that individual as a psychiatrist, as an MD, who's also an orthomolecular psychiatrist, which is food is medicine? And so what advice would you have given young Dr. Lee?
I think just hearing that it's normal to feel that way is very comforting. What I think I got from my therapy at that time was that it was abnormal, and that it required that it was a biological illness. I wasn't the kind of person that would ever take a medication anyways, but I had to be persuaded. So I was persuaded that it was basically depression, and I had to treat it with medication. So I did take it because I trusted the person who was both the therapist and the mentor at that time in my training. But there was just no understanding about how the medication, once introduced, should be taken off. So I was on that medication for years and years. After I started the very low dose of Zoloft, I never really did feel, you would call it angsty, unhappy feeling that I was having. That got taken away. But when I tried to come off of the Zoloft, just 25 milligrams after 5 years, I went from just this, just a real issue with kind of ambivalence about my artsy side versus my medicine side. I went from that to a very serious suicidal depression.
Wow.
So coming off of the Zoloft created huge problems for me. And I had to try to, I would try to come off and I would go back on and try to come off and get back on. And initially it didn't dawn on me that what was happening was related to a withdrawal effect from the Zoloft.
Wow.
But because it was so temporally, like time-wise, was so closely related to coming off the Zoloft, and it was so severe, I figured that there was a physiological dependency that my body was experiencing to that medication. It wasn't like cocaine or heroin or where you crave the substance, but certainly the difficulties that I experienced coming off of that medication was so difficult that I couldn't stay off. Which once I realized there was a problem with the withdrawal from the Zoloft, that did stimulate me to look for natural interventions. And that's my own personal journey into holistic treatment and being open to that, along with, later on, I think that was earlier on, but a few years later, there were times when I took the supplements for blood sugar regulation, and then later on learned about supplements for bipolar patients, all of which just opened me up more and more to a holistic approach.
Now, you had mentioned, this is the second time I hear you say bipolar. I was going to ask you, I have a star by it. What were the bipolar supplements or supplements for bipolar that you had heard that were helping people?
Back in 2002, I heard about a supplement called EM Power Plus. And in Canada right now, EM Power Plus is there their FDA regulates it for bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. So it's actually, it's sold as a supplement. It's very helpful. That's very helpful for bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. So I started using that for bipolar patients, and I found that my patients did very well on it. They were able to get off their medications, which was really surprising and astonishing for me. And at that time, back in 2002, I didn't take a multivitamin mineral like Empower Plus. So I decided that if it's helpful for bipolar, I would use it as well. And I started taking that multivitamin, and it was really helpful for me as well, because by then I think I'd been off medications for about 5 years, but I had not felt really fully like healed. I would say I was about 80% of my normal, of my optimum. So when I started taking just a simple multivitamin mineral supplement, I got back to my normal, my optimum. And I had a lot of clinical experiences with this particular supplement back in 2002 that was educational for me, to show me that supplements can make a huge difference. So given that I was coming from a medical training background, you can understand that going from that to maybe another pill was something that I could transition to, even if it's a supplement. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I were to transition from that kind of paradigm to just diet, it probably would have been a bigger shift for me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things that I wanted to add. First of all, the body will not forget what the mind wants to neglect. You had an issue that you needed to deal with. And many doctors that have been coming on the show have said that, and it first started, when I first started listening to this, was like 85% all illness, 85% of all illness is emotional, comes from an emotional root, an emotional component, something that happened, childhood, adulthood traumas. Then the more they've gone into this and researched it, I had Dr. Connealy, who is a doctor who specializes in helping the body heal from cancer, say 100% of all illness is due to an emotional component. And now they're saying that could be passed in through the DNA. I mean, they're going really, really into these different levels at looking at how far does it go back. And in the Bible, it says 4 generations, that it's passed down 4 generations. So I don't know if that is biblical or not. So then we had Dr. Lee Cowden on the show off the air. And I don't know if he said it also on the air, but he said that when he has patients that come to him, the first thing he works on is the spiritual aspect, then the mind aspect, or maybe he works on the mind first and the spiritual, because working on the body alone is very expensive. And he said that if you work on the emotional component of healing the traumas that we've experienced, then helping the body and healing the body will be even cheaper. What is that? I see you're nodding your head.
I think as you're talking about this, I think that I agree with all of this, that there's a very big component to any illness that's emotional, or whether it's trauma from your life or whether it's trauma that was experienced and then held in the information system of our DNA, mm-hmm. and then passed on to the next generation. It's all information. We're made of information, even though we look like solid matter. On the other hand, I think that because I've worked with so many different patients who come in not prepared for one aspect or another of the treatment, sometimes it's just practical just to go where they're at. I start with where they're open and where they're at. Like yesterday, I was doing an initial evaluation with a young woman who had quite a bit of anxiety. And so I was teaching her a little bit about the way the mind-body is connected, and showed her how her thoughts would affect her strength levels through, showing her through muscle testing. And she could only receive a certain amount of that kind of feedback or learning before she said it was too much. So she couldn't go to the next step, which was learning the thought field therapy technique called EFT. Mm-hmm. She wasn't really open to doing a very short meditation that I have on my website called Energy Breaths. But she was open to a simple nutritional regimen that I put together for her.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I think everybody comes in saying, this is what I'm ready for now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned to just kind of step back and be okay with that. And then hope that what they're open towards might take them to the next level.
Sure.
That might be more open to some of the other powerful tools that we can use.
Absolutely. And for those of you who would like to learn more about energy breaths, it's called Energy Breath?
Yeah, Energy Breaths is a very simple meditation on my website. It's under
holisticspsychiatrist.com. Go ahead.
Yes, holisticspsychiatrist.com, and if you go to the creative collection, and it will open up several different categories. If you go to media, you go to media, and then you just scroll down until you see the Energy Breaths recording. You can tap on it on the triangle, and it will, show you exactly how to do it.
Perfect. And maybe we can talk about it off the air when during the break. And for those of you who want to watch this, you can watch it on YouTube. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com and then click onto YouTube. So, okay, then I want to go into the next thing I want to tap into is the fact that the numbing, that just keeps, I need to come back to that numbing, because these medications are really good, but they're really good at numbing everything. Right? And so if we can't experience the low things in our life, then how do we celebrate the higher accomplishments in our life, right? So with that in mind, when the next thing I was listening to you is like, okay, well, it helped me get through to that next step. But when you tried to get off, there were so many different withdrawals. And so I want to talk about the different ways that we can minimize withdrawals, because now I know that I'm hearing the music, and we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Alice Lee when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. Yeah, I was going to pass it on to you, Dr. Lee. I was going to say, can you? And all of a sudden I looked up and I went, oh, music has started. So that's something I really want to address is, maybe when we come back on, but for now, can you share with us what this energy breath looks like?
Well, Energy Breaths has certain components. One is you start with focusing your attention by focusing on your breath. And then you visualize using your right brain, you kind of visualize light within you and around you. And then the third thing is the left brain, which is understanding or letting that light symbolize a concept of life energy, which is love, peace, strength, all of those good qualities that that lets your life be whole and complete. Then the next thing is connecting or setting it, just imagining that this light comes from an infinite source or well of life energy, and choosing to connect to that source. And finally, using intention to be open to having this source of additional strengthening and positive energy flow to your life over the next 24 hours, even when you're not doing it. So you're working with time, you're working with intentions and visualization and just connection to that idea of perfect energy. And when you do that, you can show an effect before and after the energy breath. So if you were to hold out your arm and were to test how strong your energy is at the baseline, like if somebody was to push down on your arm, you would have a certain level of baseline strength. But after you do the energy breaths, you can hold out your arm and the other person can push down on your arm and you'll be super strong. So it can prove that our mind can connect to this idea of perfect energy, basically download it into our bodies and really support the healing energies in our bodies. And it makes a huge difference how the biochemistry of our body works when we have good energy flowing through it. It's the way I teach patients is the analogy of a light bulb, that you can have a perfect light bulb, but how that light bulb functions will be determined by how much energy flows into that light bulb. So if you have less electricity, that light bulb will shine less brightly. But the more energy goes into that light bulb, the brighter that light bulb will shine. So it's a combination of having the physical light bulb, which is like the analogy of the body, and also the energy that flows into it combine together to let our light shine.
I like that. Okay, so because I hear you, but I want to make sure that I understand you. The right brain is the creative side. So this is where we visualize in our mind's eye the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then our left brain is more logical. Then we give that light a name or a meaning. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Some concepts.
A concept. So then as we breathe in, are we breathing in the light? Are we breathing in that concept and they're working together? Is that what's happening?
You can do that, and you can think about every breath coming in as a light flowing in.
Mm-hmm.
But the light that we're talking about, this life energy, you can also think of it as being beyond space and time. So when you breathe in, you can think of it as just showing up in your life as a bright light within your life, that it's just appearing and strengthening you. That can also be the way you want to visualize it, because where this light comes from, this life energy, really isn't about coming from a certain direction and like a ray of light and going into your head.
Mm-hmm.
Although you can imagine it like that and it works just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about being present through our intentions, to all of a sudden be present with that light.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for that, because I don't think we've ever talked about energy on the show before. And that's one aspect that would be good to maybe, I don't know if we could capture that on the air, but we can certainly capture it while we're talking on the video, you know? Maybe we can do an exercise next where you actually show us, you know, or
Sure.
talk us through it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I see that we're about to get started. You hear the music? Can you believe it? We're halfway done.
You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. Today's teacher is Dr. Alice Lee, and I know that we're being heard worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I want to encourage you, my listening friends, my viewing friends, that you stop what you're doing. Please subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com. If you're driving, just pull over. But make the commitment to do it today, because this is the way that we can have these conversations off the air. This is a 1-hour show, right? But the conversation can continue. They continue through the Heal Tribe. Like today, we're going to be joining the Heal Tribe in Brevard County, the Space Coast Heal Tribe. You know, last week we were with the Jacksonville or the First Coast Heal Tribe. This is where we continue. This is where you continue getting the information. When you become a subscriber, not only do you get free gifts like the 90-Day Challenge to Self-Love ebook that I wrote, but you also get the show sent to you every day. So if you miss it at a certain time, or if you want to listen or watch the YouTube video, because it's the extended version of the show, it's the unedited middle parts of when you're listening to the commercials. We're also doing some talking. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Not only become a subscriber there, but when you click onto the YouTube button, you can also subscribe there and the video will be sent to you. So many different ways to be connected. And so I want to encourage you to look and play around on the website and find all the different gifts and the little buttons that you can push that will allow you to subscribe to my social media, to all the aspects of the show. So it's not just listening to the show for an hour a day. It's also being part of this community, this Heal Tribe that I'm trying to build. I'm working with you, and hopefully all over the world, if you want to have a Heal Tribe as well, that would be so cool. It would be nice if we united through this healthy eating and living tribe. And so what do we want? We want to heal. How do we heal? Let's work on that together. One of the things I ask that you do when you are at at whenyouneedafriend.com is check out my sponsors, my favorites. One of my favorites is Dr. Alice Lee. She is a orthomolecular psychiatrist. So orthomolecular means food is medicine. She's board certified as holistic doctor that will help you if you are interested in getting off your drugs. She could do it through Skype. She can do it through, with you. She's in Maryland, but you don't have to be there to do it. Right, Dr. Lee? She can.
It depends on what it is that they have. I don't normally feel comfortable working with someone coming off of an antipsychotic, but I certainly can help people who are on antidepressants.
Very good. And so Dr. Alice Lee can be found at holisticspsychiatrist.com. So make sure that when you check out my sponsors, you support my sponsors the way they are supporting the show. Figure out a way that you can, thank them or buy their products or whatever it is that you would like to do that will be beneficial for you as well. We just want to create win-win. So you can also, if you have a question for Dr. Lee today, you can call or text me at 407-373-5959. Please remember, I do not answer the phone during the show. I haven't figured out how to answer the phone and talk and do the show at the same time. So you are calling 407-373-5959. That is my cell phone number, not the station number. I just want to make sure that you have direct access to me. So with that in mind, Dr. Lee, I am so grateful to you for allowing us the opportunity to think outside the box. Now, it is difficult when I hear you say that the more you try to get off the Zoloft, the more you realize that the suicidal thoughts, and then it's like you're afraid of getting off of it because, the alternative would be to kill yourself. That's a side effect of these drugs. And so with that in mind, what is your recommendation for someone who is concerned about the side effects, but they do want to get off and maybe try something a little bit more natural and minimize these side effects? What do you suggest?
Just a note, because you mentioned the mass shootings and things like that.
Earlier, yes.
The side effects of withdrawal from the medication wasn't just suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
And depression. It was also extreme aggression and irritability.
Mm-hmm.
So it was heightened, and being the kind of person I am naturally, I can imagine if I felt that way,
Sure,
how it might affect someone else who may have a higher, testosterone level or higher level of irritability in general. So I would just say that not only the withdrawal, but sometimes just the depression itself can cause the same kind of low, depleted state that the withdrawals might be parallel to. So in terms of helping someone with these conditions, there's lots of different ways you can look at it. Number one is from a overall perspective, we're really trying to decrease stress spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and socially. From a functional perspective or orthomolecular perspective, it's really looking at good things in and bad things out. So helping the body to be able to handle greater nutritional intake, and at the same time be able to more effectively and appropriately detox. But when it comes to medication withdrawal, you have to really look at each of the medications and see how they affect the different receptors. You can go to Wikipedia, look under that medication, and look at the psychopharmacology of that medication. Usually there will be a table that has what they call the KIM. So the KIM is how potent that medication is in blocking a certain receptor. When they, or how potent it is at connecting and, connecting with a receptor. So when it connects with a receptor, it can either block it or it can stimulate it. Okay, so the table will show you whether it blocks it or whether it makes it work, like stimulate it. The smaller the KIM number, that means the smaller amount of the medication it takes to block that receptor. So the smaller the number, the more potent that medication is at blocking and affecting that receptor.
Wow. I've thought that was completely opposite. You caught me off guard there. Okay.
So you look for the very small numbers. Actually, my cutoff is about 300 as a KIM. But there are some numbers in which the medication is so powerful that the numbers range in like 1.2 or 2.2 or something like that. That means it takes very small amounts of that medication to block that receptor.
Ah, get it.
So when you look at the receptors, then you have to figure out what kind of supplements do you need so that when you're lowering that medication, the unblocked receptors would then be addressed. Like, for example, some of the antipsychotics have a very, very powerful antihistamine effect. It's not just the dopamine receptors, which we are taught is what the antipsychotics work on. The antipsychotics, the main philosophy is that antipsychotics block dopamine receptors and therefore it helps with a psychosis. But actually a lot of the antidepressants that work quite well are the ones that block histamine. And histamine goes up with stress, it goes up with allergies, it goes up with inflammation. And histamine drives, it's a neuromodulator of the adrenals. And so it makes the adrenals release a lot more adrenaline. And the adrenaline is the message of fight or flight. The adrenochrome is a waste product of adrenaline, can cause quite a bit of severe anxiety. And in fact, Abraham Hoffer thought it was at the root of psychosis. So people who have high histamine levels sometimes benefit from the antipsychotics because the antipsychotics actually block the histamine receptors. So when you take someone off an antipsychotic, you want to make sure that they have sufficient interventions that decrease histamine, whether it's through diet or through supplements.
So what would increase the benefits for the histamine?
So you would actually want to bring down the histamine.
Bring down the histamine.
So sometimes, for example, there is a product called Histazyme by Amy Myers, MD, from her website. That is actually an enzyme that decreases histamine by chewing up the histamine in food.
Okay.
That's the histamine. There's Opsin 2, which is by Professional and Complementary Formulas. It's a homeopathic company, but Opsin 2 is an anti-allergy kind of antihistamine homeopathic that can be quite helpful for some people. And I use some other things by Biotic Research. It's called Histoplex AB, which is more of an herbal product that brings down histamine. So there's many different nutritional and herbal and homeopathic products that can naturally decrease histamine.
I have so many questions that but thank you so much for that explanation, because I've never learned about the way that the drugs do work. I know that they work sometimes too good, and it controls the entire body. But we're going to continue our conversation when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. That was amazing to know how that works. You explained it in a way that is just so wonderful. We received a text from someone that's been listening, and they said, I'm just going to read it out loud. It might be good, might be bad. I have no idea. We'll see. It says, please, I've been listening to the radio and I really need if you can text me the website for the doctor.
Oh.
See, you are making such a difference, Dr. Lee. And so let me just put holistic. Let me do www.holistic PSYCHIAT right? .com.
Do you want me to tell you the funny story about that website?
Do tell me.
Back in how long ago I started that website, there was no holistic psychiatrist. So I got that website name. And because now so many people are looking for holistic psychiatrists, they would type in holistic psychiatrist and I would be like #1 on Google, right? Because that's the name of my website. But at the time that I chose that name, nobody wanted it.
But
there
you
was no
know,
such thing.
but you are so ahead of your time, Dr. Lee. What people don't know about you is how you fought to be able to do what you're doing.
That's
People
true.
don't know that. And how you almost lost it all. They wanted to take your license away because of your belief. You have stood strong. And I'm saying that now as a bonus because there's much more that I want to say. I want to empower people. And I do need to say that for those of you who want to try to get off your medications, as you saw in Dr. Lee's story, she became suicidal. So I want to encourage you to do this with the right professionals. Align your intentions so that you have the right person to help you get off of this. Is this something that you do to detox? Do you have to go to like a withdrawal place, or do you just go and lock yourself in a box until all these feelings go away?
Well, you know that at this point, when I'm helping patients come off their antidepressants, literally they feel nothing, like meaning that they could go through the whole withdrawal process and still work and do fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's very possible to really go through the withdrawal in a very painless way. So I've worked with many patients who try to do it on their own and just couldn't. They would just fall apart and feel horrible. But then if they're willing to, and if they're willing to take the supplements and do the energy work, they can actually come off these medications in a very gradual way, being supported both functionally and that's biochemically, as well as with the energy work. And literally, they can come out the other end feeling great.
Before we go on the air, would you want to give out your phone number?
802-4474.
Type it up. Type it up.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. Today's teacher is Dr. Alice Lee. I was saying this off the air, but I'm just going to say it on the air. For those of you who would like to learn more about what Dr. Lee is doing, you can certainly go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on her YouTube video once it's up, and you can get all the information, learn a little bit more. But what you don't know about Dr. Alice Lee, and we go back, what 3 years, Dr. Lee, right? They tried to strip her from her license. They tried to keep her from doing what she's doing in Maryland, but she fought back and she won. She is thriving. And so she is able to do what she does, and other psychiatrists are able to do what they're doing because of her, because she would not take no. For someone who wanted to be a writer, she needed to be a psychiatrist first. So everything is perfect. Even if you are on these drugs and you feel that this is something that you want to get off of, please, 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 if you hear anything else that I say, please hear this. Align your intention with a professional that can help you achieve your desire. I want to make sure that you reach out to someone that can help you go through this process. Dr. Lee, on the break, she was saying that her patients, when they're minimizing their medications, they're also minimizing their withdrawals because they're doing the energy work. They're doing this whole mind, body, spirit approach. If you're interested in talking to Dr. Lee, you can go to holisticpsychiatrist.com, holisticpsychiatrist.com, and her number is 301-802-4470. 4474, sorry, 4474. If you want to learn more about what she is doing, and if you would like to try something different, it's up to you. It's your body. But remember, it is normal to feel sad. It is normal to feel maybe that you don't belong. I mean, gosh, I would have been on medication my whole life if it weren't the case, because we just need to figure out what the body is telling us. Dr. Lee So you said that your patients, when they go through and they get off the medications, what are some of the things, because we don't want to treat ourselves. Do you do blood work? What do you do to figure out what exactly they need?
Well, now because of my experience and understanding what other people have needed, I do start with a general supportive nutritional base. And those 8 areas typically are, the 8 areas that I teach my patients that they need to be supported on is vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, amino acids, GI support, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, and detox. So I give them a little bit of support in these areas using supplements that kind of cover different areas at the same time, just as an initial kind of foundational support to give the body additional things that it can use for healing. I also work with their diet, especially if they have, they show some food sensitivities or they eat a lot of junk food. I try to teach them a little bit about why that's not helpful for them. Mm-hmm. I also teach them the energy breaths. I help them to start addressing traumas. So I'm just trying to decrease stress overall for the body so that they can start meeting and exceeding both their energy as well as their nutritional needs every day. Mm-hmm. So I teach them that if you meet your nutritional and energy needs every day, then the next day you're at the same place that you were the day before. But if you meet and exceed it that day, the energy as well as the nutritional needs for that day, then you've healed a little bit more the next day. So the body will use that extra energy and the extra nutrients to help heal the body. So once I give that foundational support, I see how the patient comes in and how they're doing. And if they're doing a little bit better and they're healing a little bit more, I can teach them that to come off the medication is a little bit different than just feeling better. Each medication has its own special effects on the body, and we need to understand what those effects are, the different receptors that they affect, and then we need to intervene with supplements that will really help to mitigate the withdrawals when you remove the medication's influence on the body. So for example, let's take a very common medication that it's under the big umbrella of the SSRIs, mm-hmm. which is Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, Lexapro, all of these, Paxil, all of these are the SSRIs. Most of the family doctors are giving out SSRIs for depression or anxiety.
Or sadness, or normal sadness.
Sadness, yes. Any kind of emotional discomfort, they give the SSRIs. And so with the SSRIs, what happens is that it blocks a reuptake of serotonin. So the reuptake of serotonin you can think of as the body's recycling mechanism. So once serotonin is released from one nerve cell, it binds to the receptors in the other nerve cell, and it has to be recycled back into the first nerve cell so that it can use it again. But when you block the reuptake of serotonin, it allows that serotonin to have a little extra time to bind to the receptors.
Okay.
The other nerve cell. But in that space, there's more enzymes. So the enzymes can degrade the serotonin and chew it up. So I went to a conference that one of the conference presenters said that after 3 weeks of using serotonin or an SSRI, that the serotonin levels are actually depleted by about 80% in the platelets. So after you use these medications, because of the way it works, your serotonin storage levels will come down, and of course makes you more dependent on the medication.
Sure.
So when you come off of the medication, you need to take supplements that help you initially build serotonin. Mm-hmm. You need to start taking that first, and after about a week to 2 weeks, then you can start easing down on the medication. The only other thing I would say is that it's a really big one for SSRIs is that it also affects the central nervous system. It affects the serotonin in the frontal lobes or the prefrontal cortex, but it also affects, I believe, the pituitary or the pineal glands in the brain, because people who take it feel a decrease in their sexual libido. Mm-hmm. And I believe it works through the central nervous system. So for some people, as they're coming off of the SSRI, I try to support the pineal and the pituitary glands with glandular support to help them with just feeling calmer overall, helping the whole hormonal axis to work a little bit better.
And what do you normally prescribe? What would that be?
There's a product called pineal gland, and it's by a company called Deseret Biologicals. They do only sell to clinicians, so this is
something that you have in your office.
Company, and they only sell to clinicians. They have a lot of wonderful products that I use. So one of them is this pineal gland, and sometimes people might need it. But the main thing is the serotonin support, and to support the serotonin system, my favorite supplement for that at this point is called Sero Plus, SERPLUS, and it's by Pure Encapsulations. It has the 5-HTP that helps you to make serotonin, and it has a little bit of taurine, a little bit of inositol, which can be very helpful as well.
We could probably talk for 3 or 4 hours. When you talk about the pineal gland, I always remember Dr. Bruce Lipton saying that, as children, we are like human tape recorders from 0 to 7. And the more I learn about energy and the body and the healing centers in the body or chakras, I think that that's your human tape recorder right there, is your pineal gland. I believe that that's where everything is stored. And then, of course, it goes into your white blood cell, as you had mentioned, that goes into, it gets recorded into our body. Our body knows this. Our body knows this. And if we were to just do the emotional aspect of the work, to be able to just heal, accept, embrace, go back and give yourself the love that you needed at that time, how much do you think, how quickly would these sad moments that people are now getting, medication for, would just pass?
Well, you had another question.
I know, and you know what? I just saw the music has started. And Dr. Lee, we're going to continue this conversation on YouTube, on our video camera. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And I hope this has been life-saving to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Lee. And for those of you, all I can say is embrace whatever is happening in your life and learn with somebody that's with you that can help you. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at the time and I'm going, where did the time go? This was exceptional, Dr. Lee.
Oh,
I love. Okay, so what were you going to say about, keep that thought.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, we're still recording. Just let you know.
The testing,
yes.
Right? And I do testing in a very different way. And I think because I do the testing in a very different way, that's what allows my practice to be, I think in some ways, so much more effective. Because a lot of people do functional lab testing, right? In orthomolecular medicine, functional doctors, they will test, hair samples, they'll test urine samples, blood samples, and they're trying to get the idea of what's going on in terms of candida. They're trying to get a sense of what's going on with neurotransmitters. They're trying to get a sense of what's going on with toxins. All of that actually can be done through muscle testing. So with muscle testing, I muscle test myself, but basically it's a very different way of testing. Instead of testing for actual substances, by taking a piece of your body and checking for it, it's the way I muscle test is for information. So I'm actually using energy medicine techniques that everybody in energy medicine knows about muscle testing. And I'm just kind of adapting it to my need as a functional doctor to access information for neurotransmitters. I can access information about candida. I can access information about toxins. I can access things that you can't really test through a lab tissue sample. Like I can test stress levels for the patient, and I can test for storage levels of these neurotransmitters. So when I muscle test for these different things, it allows me to have information based upon what that patient's optimum is. and it allows me to test for it over a period of time, whether it's over a week, whether it's over a month. I'll end up getting numbers. But I created these scales from 0 to 200 that allows me to actually convert an abstract idea or concept into actual scales from 0 to 200, so I get a number for it. And I've been using this approach since 2003, and have been, adding to the template, adding questions. So I have over 32 pages of different scales that I can use to test and see what's going on with the patient. And it's very accurate. And what's really nice is that it's cheap, because I can actually do it during the session and see how they're doing over time.
Yes.
And with a functional test where you have to actually go to the lab and get your blood drawn, number one, the data may not be accurate.
It's accurate for that moment.
Yeah, for that moment, but sometimes not so accurate, because, like, for example, Lyme disease is very hard to get. It's very hard to find. And with muscle testing, you can actually see if the person has Lyme.
Interesting. I met this woman. By the way, are you going to go to the IFM conference in Florida?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to go to the one here in DC. That's just a nutritional.
Yeah, because they're going to be coming to Florida this week, coming up. There was a woman that I met at a conference, the Best Answers for Cancer, or Answers for Cancer conference. And she was telling me that you can muscle test yourself. And what she was telling me is that you take whatever product, you put it in your hand, you stand up. I don't know if you can hear me when I'm standing up.
The sway test.
Yeah, is the sway test. Oh, so that's real? I just thought she made it up. And so she said if you go forward, it's good. If you go backwards, it's not good, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a sway test. And that's just one of many different kind of more diagnostic processes. There you go. Yeah. So,
oh my God, I actually moved forward. Okay, I'm gonna have one of these.
So I teach my patients about muscle testing, and one of them is the sway test. So that if they were to go to a grocery store and they're wondering if this or that product is helpful for them, they can always hold it next to them. And if they're swaying forward, it means that the body is attracted on an energy level to that product, which is a good sign. And then if they're swaying backwards, it means that their body is repelled by that product. And so they shouldn't buy something that their body is like repelled by on an energy level. Wow. But it's a way to sense energy and information.
Wow. Okay, so I've got so many notes. Real quick, because nowadays, and when I was a kid, there were people in our lives, and there are circumstances in our life. You just deal with it. But we've become less and less and less able to help our body. We've become more disconnected to our body. Let me just put it that way. Mm-hmm. And more connected to electronics, more connected to so many different things outside of our body. Okay. So that when we experience as a teenager, so now I want you to talk to me as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Now I'm experiencing, being mocked or feeling awkward, which all teenagers feel awkward, trying to find who I am. Mm-hmm. And because I don't know social skills, and because I'm so connected to a virtual world, now I'm called depressed. A symptom, my body telling me I'm sad, is now a diagnosis. What do you say to parents that their kids have been diagnosed with depression?
I think that a lot of parents would like to have a quick fix. And that's why it's so easy to just listen to the doctor and give the pill and hope that it will just take it away. But when I listen to the kids that come in, of course they have real issues. And I think that those real issues does weigh on the body physiologically. So the mind and the body are connected in one. What a lot of parents don't know is that you can give that adolescent some support nutritionally, like with a multivitamin or mineral or whatever it is that you feel is supportive, and the person will kind of have the additional strength or support that they need to start to feel a little bit better. But at the same time, their main issue is whatever they bring in that makes them sad. So you have to address it with them.
Yeah.
And I do that with either therapy or the EFT or the energy work, whatever we do that helps them to kind of work through their problems in whatever way they need to find a solution to those problems.
Yeah. It's
not judging them is really important too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always tomorrow. But tomorrow is not a guarantee, and so today is when we get to deal with the things that we're dealing with. Our body will let us know. If it's happy, we'll feel it. If it's sad, it will feel it. And so we just need to listen and honor our body and give it what it needs. And unfortunately, children are growing up with sugar and non-foods and all the things that are not beneficial for us. Then on top of that, you have to deal with, they're dealing with, schools, the pressures of belonging. And so sometimes you just need to stop and help them resolve these, whatever it is that they need to resolve.
You did mention the electronics, and I was at a conference and ran across a company called GIA Wellness, GIA Wellness. And GIA Wellness,
I've heard of them.
Yeah, GIA Wellness actually is really an interesting company because they sit between the energy and the biochemistry. So their whole company is all about how to help the body minimize being exposed to vibrational energies that are not really conducive for our health, that stress our cells. Like, for example, they say, if you go into a forest and there's no electronics and stuff, you are absorbing a lot of vibrational energy that comes from organic living sources, and it's very healing for the body. But if you're spending a lot of time with electronics in front of a computer, or if you have, smart meters, or the TV and servers, all of those things emit a lot of vibrational frequencies that stress our cells. So they have pendants, they have little sticky things that you can put on your server. So I actually bought a bunch of their stuff. So my TV, my server, my computer, my cell phone all have the GIA Wellness little sticky stuff, like little.
So they also produce this product because I was told that I've stopped using my Bluetooth. I used to have it on my neck all the time. And I think that my body, and I also have a pulse electromagnetic frequency bed. Do you have that pulse electro PEMF?
No.
Oh, you'll love that. You'll love that. You might want to have your clients lay on it while you're working on them, while you're talking to them, because it positively charges your cells. It's almost, when I say positively charge the cells, it's almost like grounding. So, we get the negative ions from the earth, and it takes away all the positive the stuff that's negative for us. And so it positively charges our cells. So no different than a battery that's dead. When you jump it, they get that charge. And so I've been able to heal, heal the pain from 4 herniated discs and without any medication. I have not taken a Tylenol, Dr. Lee. And they told me I was surgical.
The GIA Wellness, they have a thing that charges water. So, and their supplements are also charged. Like they do work with energy in their supplements, and they have something that actually energizes the water. So I think that a lot of different companies are approaching it from the same kind of understanding and coming up with different ways to help with the energy problems that we are inundated with. But like if you're on the cell phone all the time and you're, being exposed to that vibrational energy, not only does it happen at a vibrational level where you're being exposed to energy that is not human and therefore stressful for you, but you're interacting with things that are really taking you away from human interactions.
Absolutely. But you know what? Dr. Lee Cowden came on, and I'm loving him. I'm loving Dr. Lee Cowden. He's teaching doctors integrative and functional medicine. It's the ACIM.
I think that's the conference I was planning to go to.
Oh, yeah? Okay. I'll see if I can get a ticket to go.
I'm sorry. There's so many little like letters that.
Yeah. So anyway, he was saying.
For Lyme, though, Lee Cowden?
The what?
Yes. Work on Lyme. Yeah.
Yes, he's known for Lyme and healing children or people from autism, detoxing the body from the chemicals and all that. He's been on the show a couple times. Amazing. Anyway, he said that to have a cell phone, to have a phone that's cordless phone. Remember the big rave about the cordless phone? He said that's the equivalent of having a tower signal in your home. So he said, get all out your cell phone. And he says that there's things that you can use to protect all the EMFs, to put it on when
see here.
There you go. There you go.
That's the Gia little sticky thing that helps with EMFs.
Well, I just went to this Best Ask for Cancer, and they were talking about how, the Q-Link is different than these others because it absorbs the energy versus the Q-Link, it bounces it off. And what they're saying, and what I understand in my little brain, is that when it bounces off, it gets stronger. So we need to use those. I don't know about the Gia and how it converts it. I'll have to do some research on it, but that would be a great show to talk about, all this energy that's coming out.
Let me give you the person that.
Well, let's finish the recording first. And is there anything that you would like to add to the show? Because we could probably talk, Dr. Lee, for hours and hours and hours.
Well, I think there needs to be a precaution that people should be aware of, not to lower their medications based upon the advice of traditional psychiatrists, especially if you're doing well on the medication. Like if you're doing well and you want to come off, oftentimes you'll hear your traditional psychiatrist say, well, you just kind of lower it slowly. And that's all they tell the patient. And so the patient starts lowering it slowly. And based on what they think slowly means. And let's say they lower it over 3 months or so. They have had no support in terms of, how to deal with withdrawal. So after they maybe lower the medication to half its dosage, maybe a month later, they may start having withdrawal symptoms, and they don't even recognize them as withdrawal symptoms. So I would just say, please don't lower your medications if you're stable without having an integrative psychiatrist or somebody who has had at least some experience helping people lower their medication successfully.
And use the supplements to kind of balance you out.
Of course, you have to have some supplements to help build serotonin before you lower the medication. You can't just start lowering it and then take the supplements later.
Great advice.
Because serotonin, most of the serotonin, 90 to 95% of serotonin receptors and neurotransmitters occur in the gut. So if you lower serotonin levels and its function by lowering your medication, by the time you're trying to use supplements to help build serotonin, your gut is not going to be able to use the supplement as well, because the GI system is undermined when you withdraw from the SSRIs.
Yeah. Wasn't it like 95% of serotonin is in the gut?
Yeah.
Incredible number. Okay. So last night when I was doing research, I went on to the Citizens Commission of Human Rights, the CCHR website. International. So it's Citizens Commission of Human Rights International. And there it was. It says psychiatric drugs are big business. And the psychiatric pharmaceutical industry is making a killing, 84 billion per year. 84 billion. So I'm like reading this article and it says the primary reason people take psychiatric drugs is because they've been taught to believe that they have a medical condition called psychiatric disorder, which then justifies taking a drug to treat it. This is a brilliant marketing campaign, but it is not science. Any drug changes behaviors or mood, whether cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, or heroin. This does not mean someone who acts or feels differently on cocaine does so because they had cocaine imbalance, which is the cocaine then correcting it. Anyway, it just says, when you're giving this to it, it doesn't mean that it's just because you're taking this doesn't mean that it's going to fix the problem. And so it's brilliant marketing. And not only is it brilliant marketing, when you try to get off of it, you have so many withdrawals that you're fearful. It's almost like I'm so grateful that I've never had the need to be on these medications. I've been told, deal with it. Just deal with it. And you just deal with it, and you move on. But how you deal with it is important too. I don't want to minimize that. But I feel really bad for people that haven't been able to deal with it. They get into this hamster wheel of drugs. How many times have I heard of people that are depressed? They get on drugs. That didn't work. They get on another one. That didn't work. They get on another one. That didn't work. When the answer is they've got an emotional trauma that they need to deal with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's so difficult when patients end up with 3 or 4 medications. And then they come to me and they want to come off of them. It's easy to get on them. You just add it and your body adapts. But for someone to come off of like 3 or 4 medications, it's a lot of work, and it's expensive. And I think that it's like with the medication industry, that the reason why here in America, so many people are on medications because our country makes so much money off of these medications and we can afford to pay for it. So we end up having a lot of people on medications, but ultimately, is our country, a healthier nation? I don't think so, because when we compare ourselves to other countries, our report card is not good.
No, it's not. It's not. It's very sad. It's really sad what's happening. I mean, the goal of the pharmaceutical industry is that everyone that has a breath will be on medication. And the reality is that I'm not against medications. I'm not, because short-term medication may be what you need. And it might be, you had a broken leg or whatever. But there's so much out there we don't know. Like I heard, I'm going to be interviewing David Wolf. Do you know who he is?
I heard of him, but
Yes,
tell me.
David Avocado Wolf. I'm interviewing him tomorrow. So David Avocado Wolf, he wrote The Beauty Diet. Well, he's written a lot. He's a farmer. Okay. He's been a advocate of the vegan community, growing your own food. He's been, a farmer for 20 years, but he does more than that. He is much more than that. He has a chocolate farm. He has a cacao farm. Anyway, he said, if people had backache, they just need to go out, lay on the ground, and let the earth give the energy, and it'll cause the back to not spasm. The energy of the earth will fill the body with what it needs. It's that we're just so disconnected to the earth. We're wearing shoes all the time. I'm on the 3rd floor, so I need to go down and get grounded, And so a lot of people don't even realize it. He said, do you know how much medication you could avoid if you were just listen to your body, give it what it needs, And if you're in pain, just lay on go to the beach, lay on the sand, because the sand doesn't have any chemicals poured on it. We just
Yeah,
need to be
exactly. I
careful.
was just thinking about the grass and the pesticides and herbicides.
You got to know where you're laying on. But the reality is, the moment the pharmaceutical industry came in to our lives, it disrupted the cycle. Our bodies are perfect. They were created perfect. And I know somebody probably out there is going, oh yeah, but why was my child born with this abnormality? Well, it could have been in vitro. It could have been something that was handed down, something that was as a result of something from the past. And so we just don't know these things. But for those, and there are that 3% of the DNA that causes these abnormalities. But for most of us, for the 97% of us, if we just give the body what it needs, it will heal.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that rather than reaching for the medication first, if you can just try some of these more natural interventions that have less propensity to harm in the long run, that we can be surprised at how healing they can be, Yeah. It can help prevent all of the work and expense that will eventually have to be faced anyways if you ever want to come off these medications. And I think if you start these medications really early, I can't imagine that it's going to work for 50 years. It can't. The way the medications work is that they are xenobiotics. They're foreign substances, and therefore the body's going to detox them more. It's going to create an inflammatory reaction against those medications as foreign substances. So in time, the body ultimately will negate the benefits of that medication. So,
well, Dr. Lee, I could talk to you for hours and hours. I'm so grateful that we have this extended time with you. And for those of you who would like to learn more about Dr. Lee, you can go to holisticspsychiatrist.com. Her number is 301-802-4474. That number again is 301-802-4474, holisticspsychiatrist.com. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for everything you're doing, for fighting the battles so that you can continue doing, and all the other doctors that are saying enough with the medication. Let's deal with the issue, which the body and the mind want to be in alignment. And if it's not in alignment, the body will say, I know you need to deal with something. It might be painful. So here, let me give you some pain. I want to be in alignment with your brain. Your brain knows it's avoiding pain, but you need to deal with the pain. So here's some more pain. So if we were to just deal with whatever it is that we have, we can deal with it. We can handle it. We just need to have a tribe to help us, our friends. And if you need some help, I'm always here at whenyounneedafriend.com. Dr. Lee, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
I love this conversation. We'll see you soon.